Currently live.
Hi guys and welcome to my channel. Today in this video tutorial we are going to discuss what are distributed systems and what is the role of middleware in distributed systems. Okay, so guys, for the full lecture all of you stay tuned. So guys, the first thing first, what is a distributed system? So guys, if you have seen my previous lecture, we talked about multi-computer systems, we talked about multi-processor systems. Then there is another type of systems, we call it as distributed system. So basically what is a distributed system? In distributed system we have full-fledged computers which are connected to each other using a wide area network. Okay, we have full-fledged working computers. They are connected to each other using a wide area network, and these machines are loosely coupled, means their dependencies upon each other is not very high. Okay, so for example, so we have a computer here, we have a computer here, so these computers are connected to each other using a LAN. Okay, so we have some other computer here, we have some other computer here, they have their own LAN, and both these LANs, okay, are connected to each other using a WAN. So this full-fledged system, okay, this full-fledged system is called as distributed system. Okay, so guys, the most popular example of a distributed system is your internet. Okay, so in an internet, what is there? We have many computers which are connected to each other all around the world, okay, using a wide area network. Okay, so when we talk about they are loosely coupled, by loosely coupled means they are not dependent, too much dependent upon each other. The coupling between them is loose, right? So whenever they want, they can work together, otherwise they can have their own independent work. So such systems are called as distributed systems. So distributed system is a collection of full-fledged loosely coupled system which are connected to each other using a wide area network. And the example of a distributed system is your internet. So in internet, whenever we want, we can connect with some other system, we can work together. So whenever we want, we can have our own independent works. Okay, so that such systems are called as the distributed systems. So guys, in next part of this tutorial we will discuss something called as middleware and what is the role of middleware in distributed system. So guys, as just I told, like what is a distributed system? It is a collection of huge collection of computers around the world. Okay, and internet is example of a distributed system. Now guys, what happens? Okay, so what happens on the internet? Okay, all the computers which are connected to the internet, do all of them run on the same platform, or do they all use the same operating system, or do they all use the same hardware? The answer for this question is no. Okay, so for example, on internet, okay, so we have one computer, okay, which is running Windows operating system. So we have another computer which may be running a Linux operating system. Okay, we have another computer which may be running a Mac operating system. Okay, a Mac OS. Okay, so this hardware can be of different hardware, I can say it 1. This hardware can also be different, I can say hardware 2. This hardware can be different, I can say hardware 3. Okay, so now suppose all of them are connected together on the internet, and all of these computers, they are different from each other. They have a different hardware, they have a different operating system. Okay, still they all can work together in a distributed system. How that is possible? It is possible because of something between them. Okay, because of something between them, and that something is called as middleware. Is called as middleware. Okay, so what is middleware? The role of middleware is to enable the different platforms, the different operating systems, the different hardwares. So that the role of middleware is to act as a broker between the different types of machines, so they all can interact with each other. Okay, so basically what makes the interaction or interface between these computers possible, that is the middleware. Okay, so on distributed systems, since we have a wide variety of devices which work together, okay, so we need something called as middleware, so which can make their communication possible. Okay, so this thing is called as middleware, and in distributed system we have different types of middleware. Okay, and in the next part we will discuss different types of middleware in distributed system. So guys, when we talk about different types of middleware in a distributed system, so there are four main types. Okay, we have document based middleware, we have file based middleware, we have object based middleware, and in the last we have coordination based middleware. So now we will discuss them one by one. So guys, the first which comes is called as document based middleware. Okay, so guys, before I explain document based middleware, the example of document based middleware is www, that is World Wide Web. Okay, so why I gave the example first, because with the example only you can have an idea. So what is a document based middleware? So document based middleware is the middleware which runs a huge collection of web documents or web pages. Okay, so here, so we have different devices connected to each other, and they can request for a web page, and the other client, the client can request for a web page, and server can reply to that client with the respective web page. So that middleware is called as document based middleware. So that is the approach which is followed by World Wide Web. For example, we request some, how do we make a request for some web page? So you go to www.xyz.com/page1. So what happens? So we type our request in the web browser. So what web browser does, it takes us to xyz.com computer. Before it takes us to our internet service provider or a domain name system, so where this website is mapped to its IP address. So then we go to that computer. On that computer we search for this page 1, and then that page is displayed on your computer using your web browser. Basically this is how the www work, and that type of middleware is called as document based middleware. Okay, so here each document can have a hyperlink on which we click, and we can link to some other document. Okay, this type of middleware is called as document based middleware. Okay, and it is a middleware which is used on World Wide Web. Okay, so I hope all of you know how World Wide Web works. Basically, World Wide Web is an example of document based middleware. So that is one type of middleware. Okay, now we proceed to the second type. Second type is called as file based middleware. Number 2, file based middleware. So guys, in file based middleware we view our distributed system as a single very large file system. Okay, where the computers can exchange or they can share files with each other. Okay, so in document based middleware we used to view our system as huge collection of documents, but in file based middleware we see our system as one single file system where the people, they can share and exchange files with each other. Okay, so guys, in file based middleware there are different types and it has different issues. Okay, so now we will discuss the issues in a file based middleware one by one. So guys, the first issue which comes in file based middleware is transfer model. In transfer model we discuss how the files are shared between the clients and the servers. Okay, in file transfer model we have two another models. We call it as upload download model, and we have remote access model. Okay, so guys, in upload download model what happens, we have a client, this is the client machine, and we have a server. Okay, So what happens is client, it requests for a file to a server. Server sends the file to the client. Okay. So client makes changes to the file. Again, client uploads the file back to servers. Obviously the modified file. So here what happens? Client requests for the file. Server replies to the client with the file. Client downloads the file. It makes the changes to the file, and again it uploads the file back to the server. So what do we call it? We call it as upload download model. So in this, client sends a request, server replies to the client by sending the file to the client. Basically client, he downloads the file from the server. Okay, so after reading it or editing it or making changes or performing any operations on the file, the client uploads back the file to the server. Okay, so this is the first transfer model. We call it as upload download model, and it is part of your file based middleware. So guys, the second model which comes is called as remote access model. So in remote access model also, okay, let us write it here. In remote access model also, So in remote access model also we have a client and we have a server. Okay, and the file is on the server. So in remote access model, what happens is the client does not download the file, rather the client accesses the file remotely. Okay, so client connects with the server, he can change, edit or make changes to the file. Okay, and those changes are saved in the server side. So there is no file which is downloaded to the client's computer. Okay, and there is no file which is uploaded to the server's computer by the client. Rather, client can access that file remotely. Okay, so what do we call it? We call it as a remote access model. Okay, so now we will discuss the other issues in the file based middleware. So guys, the next issue which comes in file based middleware is the directory hierarchy. Now guys, all of you know the files in any computer systems, they are arranged in form of a directories. Okay, now in file based middleware, the next issue which comes is whether all the clients, they follow the same directory hierarchy or all the clients, they follow the different directory hierarchy. For example, so in case 1 we have two clients, client 1 and client 2. Now if you look at this, they both have root and they both have at level 1 A and B, and the next level is C and D are subdirectories of directory A. So both the client 1 and 2, okay, they are following the same hierarchical structure. If you look at them, this and this. Okay, this is first case. In directory hierarchy issue, the second case is this. Okay, so we have client 1 and we have client 2. Now client 1 is following this directory hierarchy. It has root, it has A, B, and below A, B we have C and D. But client 2, it is following this hierarchy. It has root, it has A, under A it has B and C, and under B it has D. So this is the second issue which we have to face in file based middleware. Which type of directory hierarchy the system we have to follow, whether all the clients they follow the same uniform hierarchy or all the clients they have their own separate different hierarchies. Okay, each approach has its own advantages and disadvantages. Okay, now we move on to the third issue. Okay, so that third issue is something called as naming transparency. That third issue is called as naming transparency. Okay, naming transparency. Now we'll discuss the issue number 3. So guys, in naming transparency, what is the issue? The issue is whenever we name our files, in our program. Okay, now you all know we name them using a path. We name them using a path. For example, I have one file X which is in directory 2, and directory 2 is part of directory 1, and they are located in server 1, so I will use this path in my program. Okay, so what will happen, my program will automatically, it knows the file is in server 1 and directory 1, then subdirectory 2, and X is my file. Automatically it will locate my file. Now suppose what happens, suppose my file X is very big in size. Okay, it grows big in size, and on server 1 there is not enough space to accommodate file X. So the system decides, okay, let us move this file X from server 1 to server 2. That is this path. Okay, so when my path changes, so wherever or where in whatever programs I have used this path, server 1 / directory 1 / directory 2, all those programs will stop working. Because the file path has changed. Okay, so this issue is called as naming transparency. So when we have to name the file, or when we have to set the locations of the file, they should be independent, they should be transparent. Even if I change the location of my file, the programs should not stop working. So this thing is called as naming transparency. And guys, last issue which comes in file based middleware is called as sequential consistency. Sequential consistency. Now guys, what is consistency? Consistency says, if you have already studied databases, or if you are studying concurrent programming, so all of you must be knowing what is consistency. Okay, so basically what is consistency? Consistency says whatever the contents of file are at one location, same should be at all the locations, or which have the copies of that file. For example, if here file 1 at location 1, okay, is having XYZ, so same file, if it is at location 2, file 1 at location 3 should be consistent. Okay, both should have the same content. Okay, if these contents are not consistent, then our system will not know which file 1 is valid, whether this valid or file 1 this one is valid. Okay, so this thing is called as sequential consistency. Okay, so this is the last and the final issue based upon in file based middleware. So what happens in sequential consistency? Suppose file 1, okay, at location 1, file 1 at location 1 is modified by a client. So we have client client 1. Okay, it accesses this file, it modifies this file. Okay, it makes it XYZ1. Okay, after the modification, so we have another client 2. Whenever he is accessing the file, he should get the updated or the modified copy of that file. Okay, so what do we call it? We call it as sequential consistency. Means before the modification, what was the contents of the file was XYZ. After modification, what is the contents of the file? XYZ1. So when client 2 requests the file after client 1, he should get XYZ1, the updated copy of the file. So what do we call it? We call it as sequential consistency. So file based middleware has to ensure all these 4 issues. So guys, the third type of middleware is object based middleware. Okay, so I hope all of you know what are objects. Object is nothing but object is something which has data and which has a method. Okay, so in object-based middleware, so we have something called as corba. Corba is common request broker architecture. Okay, so in corba, okay, the clients, they can invoke operations on the remote server. Okay, so they can call on operations, okay, which can work on the remote server objects. Okay, so basically corba was designed keeping in mind the heterogeneous system. So what is heterogeneous system? Heterogeneous system is a collection of the computers which have different platforms. It was designed for them. Okay, so we also call it as object based middleware. And guys, these days this type of middleware is very popular. These days everything what we do, especially on the internet, is object based. Okay, so the example of object based middleware is corba. So here the clients can invoke the operations on the objects located on the remote machines. Okay, we also call them as servers. Okay, so it was designed, as I told you, designed for the heterogeneous systems. Okay, so which run a different platform. So this is the third type of middleware. We call it as object based middleware, and these days this type of middleware is popular. Okay, so these days we are using object based middleware. So guys, then comes the last type of middleware. We call it as coordination middleware. So in coordination based middleware, we have two different systems. One is called as Lambda tuples, another one is called as publish and subscribe. Okay, so first we will discuss Lambda tuples. Okay, now guys, I hope all of you are familiar with the term tuple. So tuple is nothing but a row in a database. Okay, so Lambda tuples are purely database based middleware. Okay, in which we as a clients, we can insert the data in the row of a database and we can retrieve the data from the database. Basically in database, what we can do, we can insert the data. So the data is stored in form of tables, and table is nothing but collection of rows. Okay, so we can insert the tuple. Row is basically called as tuple. So we can insert the tuple and we can retrieve the tuple. Okay, so in this we have, in Lambda tuples we have two main operations. One is out and other one is in. So guys, whenever I want to insert a tuple in the tuple space or row in a database, then I use out operation. Out operation, basically it inserts a tuple in a tuple space. And whenever I want to retrieve a tuple or retrieve a row from a database, then I use in operation. In and then the row specifications. It will retrieve that row and send it to me. So this is one example of coordination based middleware, and we have one system in that we call it as Lambda tuples. So tuples is nothing but a collection of row. A tuple is nothing but a row, and we have a tuple space, we call it as collection of rows. Okay, so in which we can insert the rows and we can retrieve the rows. And the other system of coordination based middleware is public subscribe. Okay, publish subscribe system. So in this, what happens, we have a publisher, it will publish some information. Okay, and then we have subscribers. If subscribers are interested in that information, they can subscribe to that information. So whenever a publisher publishes some information, it broadcasts to the network. Okay, and the clients, if they have subscribed that information, they will get that notification that new information has been published, and the subscribers, they get the notification. Very similar to your YouTube channel, isn't it? So where people, like, if you are interested in some type of information, so whenever the publisher, you can subscribe for that service, and whenever the publisher, it adds a new information, we all get the notification. Okay, so if we are interested, we will subscribe for it. If we are not interested, then it just simply, it is broadcasted to the other people who are interested in it. So that thing is called as public subscribe system. So it is another example of coordination based middleware. So guys, I hope you understand what is middleware types in the distributed system. So I think this is a very very long video, so you really need to have patience to watch it. Okay, so you can watch it in parts. Okay, so guys, again, if you like our lectures, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll be uploading more and more topics on advanced operating systems, concurrent programming, system analysis and design, and man, more IT related topics. Okay, so if you like our videos, please subscribe to my channel, and all of you, thanks for watching.